at, dat, et, bet. I knew that. Slow it down. It, pit. Come on, pal. It's my first day. At, fat. Oh, that's it, buddy.
You know Family Guy? The outrageous, joke-filled show about the Griffins that's been running for decades? But what if I told you there was once a Family Guy video game that never made it to store shelves? A dark, action-packed project that was quietly cancelled before anyone really knew it existed. Today we will be talking about the Family Guy game, Family Guy Road to Death. To understand what happened, let's go back to the early 2010s. Heavy Iron Studios, the same team behind several licensed games, began developing a new Family Guy title for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. The project's working title was Family Guy Road to Death, and from the start, it was very different from what anyone expected. Unlike the show's usual comedy, this game was reportedly a dark, third-person shooter set in a twisted version of Quahog. Early concept art and prototype footage suggested that the game leaned into more of a horror and action side, even featuring zombie-like enemies. Some fans have compared it to Left 4 Dead, or Dead Rising, but with Family Guy characters at the centre. In this version of the game, players would take control of familiar characters like Peter Griffin and Stewie, fighting their way through bizarre and dangerous versions of Quahog. The tone was gritty and violent, a major departure from the cartoonish world of the TV series. From what we know, through leaks and developer notes, Road to Death was meant to be an ambitious cinematic experience.
In a world where chaos and terror have been unleashed upon the earth, it's up to one family to restore order. Family Guy, Road to Death.
But the developers soon hit a major roadblock. The darker direction didn't sit well with the show's creator, or Fox, who owned the license. Seth MacFarlane himself was reportedly uncomfortable with how far the game went, especially with the violence and the bleak atmosphere. The humour of Family Guy has always been edgy, but not grim, and turning it into a zombie shooter started to feel like a bit of a mismatch. On top of that, development costs were rising. Creating next-gen console games at the time were expensive and hard to justify the budget for a licensed property that might alienate some of its core audience. So rather than finishing the project as it was, the team decided to completely rework it into something safer and more recognisable.
It was my understanding that everyone had heard.
Heard what? Brian, don't!
Today, Family Guy Road to Death exists only as a prototype. A few short clips and concept materials have surfaced online, showing early gameplay and incomplete environments. These snippets reveal what the game might have looked like, and they've fascinated fans of lost media ever since. After Road to Death was shelved, part of its design and engine were recycled into the 2012 release of Family Guy Back to the Multiverse. That game kept the third-person perspective and cooperative play, but returned to the series' familiar and comedic tone. In a sense, Road to Death survived, but in a completely different form. When asked about the production of the game, one of the producers at Heavy Iron Studios had to say this. Early on, Heavy Iron Studios was contracted to produce a game based on Family Guy from Activision and Fox. Initially, we dealt with Fox, and later Activision, who wanted a zombie storyline, and a game play along the lines of Left 4 Dead. We spent 6 months putting together a prototype that had a lot of different avenues: story, sandbox gameplay, multiplayer, deathmatch, etc. But ultimately, it was decided to be too dark, and the focus shifted to what you see above. During a meeting with Seth MacFarlane, he flipped out at all the violence and blood, and then assigned the two writers from the show. The game went through another 6 months of development towards alpha, then beta, then final, only to be shelved and development have to start over again. I stopped watching Family Guy for 3 years as a result of all the issues behind the scenes. Anyways, the original prototype, which I don't have, was really something. The one you see here was a second iteration, with the actual released versions still quite a bit different.
Yeah, check that twice, bitch!
Many remnants of Family Guy Road to Death can be found within Family Guy Back to the Multiverse, as many assets are reused or repurposed. An example of this would be during the Robot Chicken level.
I hate robot chickens.
I heard that, you son of a bitch!
where many dead corpses in this level are merely just reused assets of the zombies in the prototype, as well as this Quahog environment being repurposed for the final confrontation with Bertram. As well as this, there seems to be many allusions to a horror theme in the game's files. Looking at the game's soundtrack, there's many files titled such as Horror Sting and Horror Town. This goes to show how much the game got reworked over time.
Frag all your Family Guy friends in kick-ass.
So why talk about a game that was never finished? Because Family Guy Road to Death is a great example of how tone and brand identity can make or break a licensed project. It shows how creative ambition sometimes clashes with what the franchise is supposed to be. Fans often wonder what could have been: a gritty Family Guy shooter that might have been bizarrely entertaining, or it might have been a total disaster. Either way, it's become fascinating and almost a what if in the history of both the show and video games. In the end, Family Guy Road to Death never reached players, but its story lives on through prototypes, fan discussions, and a handful of mysterious clips floating around online. It's a reminder that even the wildest shows have their limits, and sometimes what dies in development tells us just as much as what gets released. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into the game's history, be sure to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments. Until next time, stay weird and stay laughing.